This video is brought to you by Ultrahuman. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to Crownstag Voiceover. My name is Neil Glasgow. So before we kick anything off, first thing I want to say is thank you. I've just got over 1,000 subscribers to the channel, and honestly, I didn't think this would really go anywhere when I started it. I just wanted to try and help people get started in the business, to get some of the information I always struggle to find. So I'm genuinely humbled that 1,000 subscribers, over 1,000 subscribers now, listen to my ramblings on a weekly basis. But I hope anything that I do does help. And genuinely, this is a thank you from me to you. So now that little bit of sop's out the way, sop. It is hot in this booth. Today's probably the hottest day so far. I think I'm about 20 degrees in here, but in a tiny space, that's kind of warm. And I wanted to have a video put out because I think this is really going to help, especially over the weekend, because some people, like me, are going to be working. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips now that are really going to help and save you a whole load of pain when you're editing an audiobook. So, let's get into it. Now, you've maybe seen some of my previous videos where I've been talking about what to look out for when you get into audiobooks, and also that I've been working with a really great new author called Andy Nairn, and all of his proceeds for this book are going to charity, which is why I'm happy to talk about it. Not an ad, just, it's a good book. But I've been going through all the edits. Now, what happens when you record an audiobook is, and I promise you this, you're going to make mistakes. And the mistakes are going to be so minor. It'll be things like you'll add an S onto a word, that's instead of that. Something along those lines. They're little things, but those little things add up, and what you have to do is go through, and so hopefully whoever is editing the book, checking it to make sure it matches up to what you've said, the script matches up to the book essentially, is they'll timestamp it. So on this chapter at 1 minute 25, you said this instead of this, or you need to emphasise this word, or you mispronounced whatever. But you need to go through and correct it. And that's where it can become quite difficult. So what can be difficult about this is you have to sound flawless on your edit. It can't have a completely different tonality. It can't be up here and I'm doing everything and then the edit is down here. It doesn't work. That's a really weird voice, but you get my point. It needs to sound like it was read exactly as it should have been read, and that it fits in with the whole chapter. There's nothing worse when you're listening to an audiobook, hearing something that draws you out, and then you're not listening to the rest of the book. So if you're listening to a whole chapter and all of a sudden the tonality, the voice, everything just sounds wrong, just even for a small section, it can pull you out. So I've given you the context. Here's what you can do that's really going to save you some time. The first thing I'm going to say for you to do is, if you are yet to start doing your audiobook, this is the most important thing. Make notes. And the things that you need to make notes on are, where is your gain marked at? So what I mean by this is, I normally say have your gains, your inputs, the what's going into your DAW, registering somewhere between negative 18 and negative 12 dB when it goes in. That gives you lots and lots of headroom to, and make mistakes and improve the volume and do all that sort of stuff. If it's going in at, say, negative 6 dB, you don't have that much space, because I tend to render things at negative 3. As probably you should. 0 dB is quite loud. I've seen people talk about doing things at 0 dB, but it's quite loud. So, negative 3. So make sure that you mark your gains. And the reason I'm saying that, and you might be thinking, well, I always record at the same thing. Why would I need to worry about that? If you're anything like me, I record lots and lots of different things. So say I'm doing a character piece where I need to shout. Well, actually, I might turn down my gains because I don't want to clip. Some clients that I work with want different settings. Essentially, I need to change my gains around. And if I don't make a note as to where my gains were on the recording, it's a difficult process, and it's a process, and I'll walk you through this in a second, to get back to where you were. And it can take a bit of time, and especially if you're recording a book over subsequent days or weeks. Each chapter, you don't want the levels up and down, because ultimately it has to be a cohesive piece. So mark or make a note of where your gains are, and importantly, where your mic position is when you're doing it. Now, I tend to record standing up. I'm sat down right now, but I tend to record standing up. It gives me more ability to act. Again, weird voice. It's a long day and it is very warm in here. But that's just me. Mark where you stand, because again, that gives you distance to your mic. Okay, and again, that's not just about the gains going in, it's about the sound that's coming out of your mouth. So mark where your mic is. And the other thing that you're going to need to do is listen to what you've done. And what I mean by that is you'll listen to the mistake that you've made. Do that to get the inflections and the tones right, because that's essentially what you're going to try and mimic. Now, say you haven't made notes and your gains aren't quite right. The easy fix to this, it's easy in terms of a process, but it's a process. Look on your DAW to where the levels peak. So where your median level is, and then where the levels peak, and then it's trial and error. You're going to have to adjust your gains to get to that point. And do those gains essentially imitating the line that you're going to do, so that, again, you get the right levels. But that's how you get to that point. So this is how you get to the edits to work out properly. And one important bit of advice I'm going to give you. Say you need to fix one word. Do the whole sentence. If you try and just do one word in that sentence, it might be the last word in the sentence, the first word in the sentence, it's going to sound off 9 out of 10 times. Redo an entire sentence, start from an and, an or, however, or just start from the beginning of the paragraph. The more that you can do, and this is going to be a bit of a silly sentence, the more that you can do that sounds natural, but the least that you can do so that it just flows into what already works, the better. So if you only need to record 5 words, just record the 5 words. If you need to record 20 words, record the 20 words. The more that you change, the more noticeable it's going to be, unless you're really good at essentially imitating yourself. Which, if you're going to be good at imitating anyone, you're going to be good at imitating yourself. But that's the best way to edit your audiobooks. And I wanted to give you this video and this bit of advice because I'm going through that now. I recorded, I think it's just about shy of 5.5, 6 hours, something along those lines. But in editing, doing all those little edits, that took me probably about, same again, 4 or 5 hours to go through and fix the edits. Now, there was at least 5 to 10 edits per chapter. It's fine, it's not unusual. I mean, each chapter is probably about 10, 15 minutes long. And again, it's, I put an S on this word, or I need to emphasise this, or it was a funny name and this is how it's pronounced, whatever. You need to go through, but you're not re-recording the whole thing, but you are trying to make sure that it's right. And the editing process can take a long time. And you don't want it to take longer than it really needs to be. So follow those steps. Make notes before you start. Make notes on where your mic is, where you're standing, and your gains, etc., that are going into it. And if you haven't, those are the steps that I would go through to make sure that you get the right performance so that it's a seamless edit when you put it back in. And ultimately, what you want is for this to just flow like the best story that you've ever read for. And again, if you're doing character work, this is so important for character work. Because again, in some books that I've done, I'm screaming, but the levels have to be the same. And again, to do that, you're going to mess with your gains a little bit. Make notes, make marks, whatever it is that you need to do that. Save yourself a world of hurt, I promise you. Because audiobooks are a labour of love, they really are. And if you have a bad experience, you're like, God, that just really wasn't worth my time and I hated doing it by the end, this will hopefully help. And if it does, guess what you're going to do? Like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. That was shameful. But do that. Genuinely, to say it again, I really appreciate all the subscribers I've got. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch up with you guys next week. And if you've got something that you want me to cover, there's an open forum now that I've got on there, because after you get 1,000 people, you can put questions out. If anybody has something they want me to cover, I'll do my best to cover those. But comments or put it on the forum. And remember, you can absolutely be a voiceover artist. I'm going to get at the booth. I'm melting. See you next week. This is Ultra Human. Join the holistic fitness movement. You can get fit, reduce stress, run marathons, improve your mobility, and enhance your productivity with the world's best coaches and athletes. You can get fitness tips and videos from some of the world's best professional athletes. You can get yoga walkthroughs from the world's most revered yoga gurus. Full body workouts for any fitness level. Mindfulness and meditation walkthroughs to really relax your body. And at night, you can listen to myself and some other wonderful narrators as we lull you to sleep after a long day. You can get a free trial for Ultra Human with the affiliate code that's in the description. Learn from the best with Ultra Human.